All right, everybody, welcome back to the TK Studios. My name is MDTK, and this is the second part of the Elements of Music series. And so today we are zooming in into form and structure. Like I said in the previous video, form and structure has got to do with the roadmap of the music, and it basically deals with the sections of the music, the roles that the sections are playing, and how the sections are arranged. So that's a bird's eye view of how the music is put together and how it behaves in time. The first thing you realize is that form has got a lot to do with the sections. So before we move on, let's first answer the question, what is a section? A section is basically a portion of the music that gives a complete musical idea. It gives a sense of completion. It is an independent or at least semi-independent part of the music. A part of the music that can stand on its own. Okay, so you realize that one important feature of sections, what sets sections apart is repeatability. Usually, when you have a section of music, you can repeat it a couple of times and then it will still be stable. For example, if you pick a song like You Are Alpha and Omega, we worship you, our Lord. You are worthy to be praised. You are Alpha and Omega. We worship you, our Lord. You are worthy to be praised. You realize that it gives this kind of complete thought. It gives this idea of, or this sense of completion. It's like it's a whole. It can stand on its own, right? But imagine if you cut it somewhere in the middle. For example, you are Alpha and Omega. It's incomplete, right? It's struggling. It's like you can't repeat that a number of times without getting tired of it. It's like it has this need to finish because it's not complete. So a form is actually that part that can stand alone, has a certain complete musical idea, right? It's independent, or at least to a large extent, is independent. There are some forms that are not independent on their own. Some sections, that are not independent on their own, but then they combine with other sections to form a complete thought. So that's why I say it's a portion of music that's it's independent, or at least semi-independent, right? But independence is a big part of being able to identify sections. So the question is, how do you actually identify sections? There are a few ways. Number one, you have to look for their independence. It's essential. Sections usually have distinct melodies. They have a distinct melody. So if you're moving from one section to another, you realize that the melody changes. And that's one indicator that you are dealing with a section. Number two, there is repeatability. The sections are able to repeat. You can repeat that block a number of times and it will still be stable. It will not have any need to resolve to something else. If you're able to identify a section of the music that is repeatable in a stable way, you know you are dealing with a section. Number three, sometimes the progression. It's not always, but sometimes the progression actually changes for every section. So when you hear that the progression has changed, is an indicator that you are moving into a different section. Number four, you can listen for the energy shifts or the register shifts. You see, the music is going in a certain way, then the energy shifts. For example, you are Alpha and Omega. We worship you, our Lord. You are worthy to be praised. We give you all the glory. Yeah. We worship you, our Lord. You are worthy to be praised. So you realize that the energy shifted from the first section to the second section. And it's very obvious. So two things happened there. Three things, actually. Number one, the melody changed. Number two, the energy shifted. Number three is what I'm going to talk about next. the cadence or the pauses, the pause. You realize that between the first section and the second section, there is a certain pause. There is a certain pause. And so when you're listening to the music, you should be paying attention to the pauses, the natural pauses that occur in the music. They could be indicating to you that we are moving to a certain section, or then we are repeating a certain section, right? That's 4 ways that you can use to identify a section. Now, when it comes to the sections, the next thing you have to understand is the roles that they play. And I divide them into 5 functions. Number 1, the introduction. They are the sections that provide the role of ushering in, of setting up the audience to receive the next part, creating some kind of anticipation for another section, or resolving out of a section. So basically, the introduction function, I categorize them into 2. The ones that introduce and the ones that outroduce, if outroduce is even a word. So we have sections like the intro, the setup, the build-up, the outro, the coda. These are examples of sections that play the introduction function. Number 2, the story function. The story function has got to do with the sections that actually tell the story, the sections that are carrying the core message. So we have the chorus that actually carries the main idea of the song. The chorus carries the main idea of the song or the music. Then we have the verse that gives more context. So you could have a song that is talking about gratitude. For example, let's pick Joe Metals' Grateful. So the song is basically talking about gratitude. Gratitude is the main point. So you hear the chorus go like, oh, Lord, I'm grateful for your grace. Okay. Oh, Lord, I'm grateful for your grace. That's it. That's all we came to say. That Lord, I'm grateful. That's the main point. So that's the chorus. Then you hear the verse coming like, daily as I wake, Lord, I want to thank you for my life. Thank you for the things you've done for me. Right? So you realize that it's not really going straight to the point, but it's just giving more context on the point that we have come to say. So usually that's the 2 main aspects of the story function. We have the chorus that comes to give the main idea, the main concepts, the main message we came to say. Then the verse now provides more context so that you'll be able to appreciate better what we came to say. So that's a verse and a chorus. Then the third function is a transition function. So the sections that actually play the transition functions helps us to get from one section to another in a smooth way, in a way that doesn't break the flow, in a way that doesn't disturb the music, right? That's the transition function. The sections that usher from one section to another. That's the transition functions. And examples of them are the pre-chorus. The pre-chorus usually ushers you from the verse to the chorus, right? Creates some kind of emotional anticipation to the chorus, right? Or a lyrical setup to the chorus. Then we have the bridge. The bridge basically helps us to break away from the music, go to another place and return, basically. So the bridge offers a certain kind of getaway from the melodic theme of the music, and then it brings you back, right? That's what a bridge basically does. So a bridge transitions you away, creates some space, and then brings you back to the main melodic theme of the music. Then we have the transition section. So the transition section, yes, the transition section is actually a section that plays a transition function. So with the transition section actually helps you to transition from one section to another section. It does play the role of the function. So you have a song like We give you all the glory. We give you all the praise. We give you all the glory. You alone deserve it. We give you all the glory. We give you all the praise. We give you all the glory. You alone deserve it. Chorus, right? Hallelujah. 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 You alone deserve it. Hallelujah. 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 You alone deserve the yeah. Great are you, Lord, most high, you reign forevermore. Great are you, Lord, most high, you rule victoriously. Oh, hallelujah. Hallelujah. Right? So it actually takes you from what that transition is doing is basically taking you from one key to another key. Right? And it happens just once in the song. So that's what the transition section does. It takes you from, one key to another key, from one section to another section, from one theme to another theme. It just provides a bridge in between two sections that would have been otherwise very difficult to connect, right? So that's the transition section. Then we also have other sections like a modulation, the interlude, the segue, right? All of these play the transition function. The modulation transitions you from one key to another key. The interlude transitions you from one section to another section. The segue transitions you from one song to another song. The segue is usually in a medley. It's usually applicable in a medley where you have a couple of songs put together or mashed up in a certain single performance, right? So as you are moving from one song to the next, how you move from this song to the next song is actually what we call the segue. Or if it's a mashup, how you break from this section of this song into that section of that song is actually the segue, right? And that's also the transition function. Let's move on to the next function, the emotional drivers. So the emotional drivers. This is so important, especially in music, in worship music. You see, worship does not happen without emotion. Worship is heavily based on emotion. So we need sections in the music that are able to drive emotion, that are able to solicit a good emotional response. And these sections that play this role of soliciting emotion, suggesting emotion, and inciting emotion in your audience is actually the emotion driving function. These sections are so crucial. I know that some people will say worship has got nothing to do with emotions. Worship in spirit and in truth. But hey, worship is very emotional. Worship does not happen without emotion. So the emotional drivers. So we have sections like the hook. The hook is supposed to be an emotional high point in the music. Like the name suggests, the hook is supposed to hook into the emotions of your audience and then bring them to the place of worship or the place of, submission in their hearts, where they've bowed in their hearts. So the hook is an emotion driver, or it plays the emotion driving function. There is also sections like the Vamp that also does the same thing. Then up to the next one, number 5, the emphasis function. Now, the emphasis function exists to drive home a certain idea, to reinforce a certain idea in the minds of your audience by repetition. That is the emphasis function. And it's also very crucial in music. At the end of the day, you want your audience to take a certain message away from the music. The music is not just to entertain, it's supposed to minister to the people, minister to their hearts. They are supposed to learn something. They are supposed to see God a certain way. They are supposed to understand or appreciate God differently when they listen to the music. So sometimes in order to be able to drive home that idea, you need the emphasis functions, or you need the sections that play the emphasis function to help you to be able to drive home that idea. And what are some examples of these sections? We have the tag, or usually called a turnaround or tag, right? We have the ad-libitum, ad-lib, ad-lib. So the word ad-lib actually comes from the Greek word ad libitum, which is actually two words, ad libitum, which basically means at liberty. At liberty. So basically, the sections where you see you are singing the song and then we give the leader this space to preach, to say something, to exhort the people, to get their hearts in the right position in that moment of worship, to align and to be able to access God. That is what we call the ad libitum section. Its job is to help the leader to reach out to the people, sell the idea of the music, or expose the spirit of the moment. Ad libitum is a very essential section. So if you are a song leader, those spaces that they give you where the instrumentation is just hyping or just playing something, don't just stand there akimbo waiting for that session to be over. That part is where the Lord wants you to drive a certain message to the people. He wants you to be able to reach out to them. He wants you to be able to let them understand the frame of mind that they should be in the moment for God to be able to reach out to them. Because at the end of the day, everything sits in the mind. Spirituality, according to Paul, we understand that even spirituality and carnality, they are all states of the mind. And so when people come to church, they come with all these kind of states of mind. And it is up to you as a song leader to be able to break through that barrier. Like Paul said, by pulling down strongholds, fighting with our weapons, which are not carnal. Right? For the pulling down of strongholds, these ideas that exalt themselves above the knowledge of Christ. It is up to you to break through that barrier of the cares that are heavy on the minds of the audience, that they are not able to worship with their heart. The problems that are heavy on their minds, the issues that they are dealing with, their distractions. In that moment is your open moment to reach out to them and draw them in. So the ad-lib section is a very important section. It's actually an emphasis function section. So these are the 5 functions that I categorize sections into. So I usually identify the sections based on the function that they are playing in the music. All right, so that was it for the second part of the Elements of Music series, form and structure. Let me know in the comments your thoughts. Let me know if I missed anything, your contributions. Just put them in the comment sections, and I appreciate them so much. God bless you. I'll see you in the next one.